Hey, what's going on guys? Arekkz here. Welcome back to another video for Mafia the Definitive Edition, but this time I'm joined by Paradise. How you doing, man?
Hey guys, how's it going?
So we're talking today because obviously if you guys have seen some of the gameplay that we uploaded yesterday, and if you haven't seen it by the way, you should definitely go and check it out. It's over on the channel. I'll even drop links in the description box down below. We had a chance to go hands-on, or should I say more specifically, Paradise had a chance to go hands-on with the Definitive Edition of Mafia. So we figured we kind of sit down today because we've shown you some gameplay, we've done a kind of graphical comparison, and we want to sit down today and kind of just talk a little bit about impressions, because for Paradise and I, it's a rather kind of interesting sort of setup. Like, I personally haven't played Mafia games before, nor have you, right?
So I hadn't played any of them before today.
Awesome, yeah. So, obviously the only kind of slight caveat to that is that Paradise did obviously go back and play the original one so that we could record the gameplay comparison. So in that respect, he has probably all of like an hour's experience with the original Mafia, right?
So I did actually end up completing the first few chapters in the original one. So I would say I've done maybe the first 3, I think. A little bit of exploring as well. So I have a little bit of an opinion on both the new remake and the original now.
Yeah, cool. Okay, well that works perfectly. So obviously, we're going to kind of chat to you guys today in like a slightly different angle. We're not necessarily coming as Mafia veterans, but I do want to kind of talk about it because obviously if you've read anything about it, you've seen anything about it, even if you've never played Mafia before, this is going to be a great entry point because this is, a remake from the ground up. They've rebuilt a lot of stuff, everything has been redone. There's been expansions to the city that weren't previously in the previous game. There are, new vehicles, things like that. So for all intents and purposes, it is a great new experience. So yeah, basically kind of just want to chat about that. So if you guys do enjoy this, then obviously, as always, I'd like to be super appreciated. Let us know if you guys will be picking this one up, if you are, are Mafia fans and whatnot. But let's start at the top, because I guess before we even kind of talk about mechanics, we should really talk about gameplay, right? Not gameplay, sorry, we should talk about graphics, because graphics are one of the big selling points for this thing. Obviously it looks very impressive, right? How was it to, how was it to play? What does it look like to you?
So I'm going to come at this from an angle of playing both the original and the new one, since I've just literally come off both of them today. And the difference between the original to this new remake is absolutely huge. The original reminds me of like the original Tomb Raider game, like back on the PlayStation 1. Super blocky, really low textures, what you would expect from, something back then. Whereas the new Definitive Edition was more like what I would expect graphic-wise from an Assassin's Creed game. I feel like there's a good comparison there, and they're both open-world games. There's a lot of detail, a lot of exploration. You have sort of day-night cycles, a lot of nice scenery everywhere. But, when you get really close to some textures, maybe they don't look as great as you would expect, but the overall experience is a really good graphical sort of experience there. And some areas that I did find, like particularly the mountaintops in the distance, may not have stood out as the best part, but when you're going over like the big bridge and you've got all of the support structures and you've got massive apartment blocks and skyscrapers and the moon is shining through the clouds, it does look really, really good.
Yeah. No, I definitely kind of got that from like some of the parts that I've seen so far, and like some of the sort of gameplay trailers and whatnot. Like it's definitely for considering it's like an open world game, then yeah, visually it is it's looking pretty good. But obviously moving on from there, let's talk about like gameplay, because gameplay is definitely one of those things that you're going to notice a lot. Like obviously again we're talking from like a different perspective, but you just today played both the old one and the new one. So
that's right.
I mean, how different are we talking? Like how does it feel like improvement wise jumping straight into the new game? Like how much smoother they made it? What kind of like quality of life changes can we kind of expect, that sort of thing?
So for me, they both felt like completely different games in how they control. In the original one, you had a really weird like third person right behind the head sort of camera, and it was a little bit jarring to use it, especially having not played back in the day, not played it, so I don't have any nostalgia to that. Whereas the new Definitive Edition, to me, it was like your classic third person like action RPG style camera. You could see the whole character, you had really fluid control. Going in and out of cars was really fluid as well. Included in that is the lockpicking and the window smashing animation to like either hijack or just steal cars and stuff like that. The shooting in the new one was quite nice too. It was quite a simple shooting system. You had a circle and the accuracy was somewhere in that circle, so as long as you were somewhat close you would hit someone quite easily. But on the faraway shots you didn't really have like sniper accuracy.
Does it have that kind of open world sort of like snap aim sort of thing where like if you're kind of aiming in the general vicinity, kind of like things like I know Watch Dogs does it, I think Red Dead does it to a degree, when you're sort of like when you zoom in, does it sort of snap to enemies or is it all manual?
So there is aim assist that you can turn up from either off or low, medium, and high.
Okay.
And it changes based on what difficulty you select when you go into the game. But I think you can also tweak it again in the options if you want to. So I was playing on low aim assist, so I didn't feel like it was doing too much for me. And I am a keyboard and mouse user as well, so it was more, for me, it was more natural to not use the snap and to just line it up. But it does have it up to high in aim assist, so I think that you definitely could do that if that was like your play style for these kind of games.
Nice. Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, it looks. It's like night and day, right? You look at both of them side by side. It's obviously as a remake. I mean,
it's a huge difference.
If it didn't feel remarkably different, then they're probably doing something wrong. So yeah,
and even the driving was very different. In the original, I noticed that it was defaulting to manual controls, and I'm pretty sure there's like gear changing, and you've got to like put it into reverse to actually go back.
Oh, okay.
If you're like stuck somewhere, you know. So that was quite annoying. Every time you get in a car, it would switch to manual. I have I was playing it for a few hours. It was a lot of controls to quickly get used to. So I very much became familiar with the automatic like gear shift modes that would just do it for me.
Yeah.
And also in the original, you would be turning just fine, then all of a sudden you would spin out. Maybe I'm just not good at it, but it was definitely a different driving experience from the new one, the remake, where it does have its own sort of system to get used to, but once you get used to it, it feels really, really good and smooth. And different cars also like handle and perform differently with their speeds and their turns. And then you've got the new motorbikes as well, which was really nice to see. And there was a lot of different varieties that I came across, which I think they were faster than the cars on average as well. So you could be quicker, but if you crashed, you died straight away.
Yeah.
Whereas if you were in a car, you had a little bit more leeway and you just took a bit of damage.
Okay, fair. No, definitely sounds cool. So what about, kind of talk a little bit more so just about the general stuff you got to experience, because obviously we've only played a preview build. The game comes out next month, so we haven't played the whole thing. You start off at the beginning and then you get jumped forward to like a later chapter. So is there like a particular moment that you got to play through that you feel really kind of summarized like the Mafia experience, that kind of gave you that true sort of, I don't know, Capone style experience, should we say?
There definitely was, and it was an early on mission where you basically become buddies with this gangster group, and they send you out on a sort of trial run with two of their like bruisers, you know, or two of their muscle guys, to go and shake down some of these local businesses for protection money, basically. And it's interesting seeing the inside view of that, where the characters on the inside see this as, you know, we're doing them a service, whereas when you get there, it's clear that they don't really want to give you any money and they don't really like you that much. And some of them go smoothly, some of them don't go smoothly, and that really gives you that sort of, you know, gangster feel of collecting money from people. And then these rival gangs start showing up and they want to take that area because there's a lot of businesses in that area and they want that money as well. So that felt really gangster to me, like going to like the 1920s, 1930s sort of gangster feel of movies like, you know, Goodfellas and The Godfather, Scarface and all that kind of stuff. It was really cool to live out those fantasies in this game, really. But to go into gameplay as well, there are certain sections of this game where it feels like you're playing something completely different. So there's one mission where effectively you need to win this race, and if you don't win this race, the Don, the big boss guy, is not going to be happy with you. So you are thrown into a race with a racing car and you've got to win, which, you know, you're driving around the city a lot, so you get used to the driving, but to suddenly be playing a racing game all of a sudden was quite interesting as well. So I thought that was a good twist and a good bit of like flavor in the game. But it was definitely a gangster experience outside of that. And there was a mission right at the end of the build that we got to play where, like you said, it skipped forward a bunch of chapters. And you effectively were going out to collect some money from this like farm that is pretending to be run as a farm. And you get there and everything goes wrong. It's a setup, the police are there, and it just kind of goes crazy, and there's a whole great escape. And that was the exact feeling you wanted from a gangster movie. It was Tommy guns, Molotov cocktails, everything.
Nice. Yeah, and I've seen sort of the videos of what, like, you know, you've had a chance to play so far, and it does look like a lot of fun. So I guess, you know, if you've kind of come from that angle of you haven't sort of played Mafia before, like, given that we've now got like a preview build, does this make you want to? I appreciate you've had like a bit of a disjointed experience, like you went chapter 1 to, I don't know, 4 or 5 and then jumped forward, but now that you've experienced this preview, like, is this something that, you know, makes you kind of want to actually experience the whole thing once it launches next month? Or, like, you know, is there anything that maybe sort of you didn't like too much?
So for me, as I said, I'm quite a fan of like that sort of gangster 1920s, 1930s style and theme, you know, the suits, the hat, the Tommy gun in the violin case, that sort of thing. So I definitely am biased towards like going into it wanting to enjoy it. But I do think that the story was quite compelling, and what goes into that as well was the characters too. I think if the characters weren't really doing a good job, then you wouldn't be very immersed, and that would impact the story experience too. So like the characters with their accents and each one's got that, like, their own personality. So I really think they made a good rounded experience. And what I didn't get to experience in this build is just how much customization and unlockable gear and equipment there is. I know that there's a garage system where you can sort of collect cars, but I don't know if you can go and collect, like, oh, I want a Tommy gun. Well, can I upgrade that Tommy gun? Can I go out and find another version of a sort of assault gun type weapon?
Yeah.
There's a few different pistol varieties in the game as well, but I would really like to know how much in depth that goes and how you get to like choose your equipment loadout and stuff, because from playing through the experience that I got to play through in this build version, it was like mission to mission to mission, and there was free roam in the middle, but you couldn't really vary too much out there, and you didn't start every mission with like a gun and a bunch of Molotovs. You had to like pick that stuff up along the way. So I do wonder what the customization and, like, you know, unlockables are as you go forwards. But I would definitely be interested in finishing the story, because I'm definitely pulled into it. I know you basically got your main character Tommy, who is this guy who's just trying to make his way through life. He's like a taxi driver when it all starts off. And then you eventually meet Paulie and Sam, who are like these sort of secondary characters. They're like your close buddy. They become your close buddies, I should say. Then you have like Don Salieri, who is the boss guy of the gang. Then you have like the rival gang. So one of the rival gangs is Don Morello, who runs like a different part of town and is constantly like trading blows with Don Salieri, like to try and get turf and just annoy each other. So I'm really interested to see what happens there.
Yeah.
And because the game starts off right at the beginning by Tommy talking to a detective, basically bargaining information for protection, it makes me wonder where everything went wrong, because from what I played, everyone was very happy and buddy-buddy together. So I do wonder why Tommy is now basically gone to the police for protection.
You have to wait and find out. We're going to have to wait until September the 25th, or somebody's going to drop a spoiler in the comments. Maybe don't do it, because it hasn't been out. But yeah, fair enough.
I mean, the game's been out for a while.
It has been out for a while.
Know.
It's back like the whole when Final Fantasy came out. I was like, don't give me spoilers. But yeah, cool. All right. Well, it sounds like you had a good time with it. I mean, like, yeah, from what I've seen so far, it looks really cool. So I guess for those of you guys, you know, it is definitely going to be a great entry point, because we've often kind of touched on this before, but, you know, trying to go back and play older games if you don't have that nostalgic link is often quite difficult. But, you know, Mafia is incredibly highly rated. I mean, I know everyone's not too keen on Mafia 3, but principally Mafia is the original, and number 2, people like really like those ones. So if you've missed number 1 and you want a chance to kind of jump in and get that, you know, that kind of gangster feel, then it's going to be a good thing to jump into. So for the time being, I'm going to wrap it up there. Hope you guys you know, enjoyed the video. Of course, thank you Paradise for joining and letting us know. And well, of course, you know, if you guys want to see more from the game, then next month when it comes out, let us know. We can always dive in and explore more thoroughly. But for the time being, thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed that video. Don't forget, if you haven't already done so, you can join the Arekkz Gaming Discord. We've got an awesome community over there with so many different channels for you to chat loads of different topics and different games. I'm in there, the team's in there. If you guys want to chat with us, find people to play with, it's just in general a great place to be. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to turn on those notifications so you don't miss any of our future uploads.